Hey guys, this video will go over how to describe your transformations. So on this first slide here, you will see that we have the four transformations, and it gives a little brief synopsis of what each means, plus what you need to answer in order to describe it. So you see that a translation, we know just means a slide. When an object has been slid, we need to answer how many units and what direction. So for example, it might be 3 units up and 4 units to the left. The second one that we went over was a reflection, which is a flip. The only thing you must answer is which axis did it flip over. So it can either flip over the x-axis or the y-axis. The third is a rotation, which means a turn. First, you're going to see how many degrees did it turn. So 90 degrees if it's in a quadrant that's right next to each other, and it's 180 degrees if it's in the opposite corner. And then if it's 90, you're also going to have to answer what direction. So did it go clockwise or counterclockwise? And then finally, our last one is dilation, which is a change in size, where you must answer what is the scale factor. If the scale factor is greater than 1, it's the object's getting bigger. If the scale factor is less than 1, then it is getting smaller. At the bottom, you can also see it's very important to be able to tell which is your starting shape, which is what we call the pre-image, and which is your second shape, which is what we call the image. So remember, the pre-image will have regular letters. So for example, A. The image, or your second shape, will have the prime notation. That's that little dash mark after the letter. All right, so let's go ahead and go through these examples of how to describe transformations. This first slide here, we will see that there's a triangle. I notice that it's a mirror image. I see that it's been flipped, so this is a reflection. To describe a reflection, I need to say, what did it flip over? So in this case, I'm going to draw this line. Notice that this is the line that it has flipped across. So I see that this is the y-axis. So my final answer here is that this is a reflection across the y-axis. Our second example here, I notice that they are facing the same way. We call this the orientation. So see how this V part is on the right-hand side? It's still on the right-hand side here. So if the orientation is the same, there's a good chance that it's just been slid. So you can see that this object has just been slid down and to the right a little bit, or up and to the left. We need to figure out which one is our pre-image. So I know this is a translation because it's a slide. And like I said, this one is very important to figure out which one is your pre-image. So this one, I see that the bottom one is actually my starting point because it has those regular letters. And the top one is my second shape, my image, because it has those dashes after the letters. So once I figured that out, I'm going to go ahead and pick a single point. It doesn't matter which one. And I need to count how it moved to get there. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick D. And I'm going to go to the same point on the other shape, D prime. So I see that I went 1, 2, 3 units up, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to the left. So my answer here is it's a translation, 3 units up and 5 units left. Remember that the order does not matter. Instead, you could have said 5 units to the left and then 3 units up. You can also choose to do this with any of your points, okay? If you got it backwards, so if you said down and to the right, that just means you did not accurately say which one was the pre-image. So remember, figure out which is your starting shape by looking for just the regular letters. They don't have the dash marks after them. Our next example here, I notice that these two triangles, they're facing a different direction. The orientation has changed. The N is at the bottom for the black one, while N prime is now at the top for the blue. So anytime I see that that's been changed, I think that this is a turn. So this is actually going to be a rotation. So I can see that my first shape is the black one because it has regular letters. My second shape is the blue one because it has the prime notation there. So I see that the way that it turned was in this direction. So the first thing I need to answer is how many degrees did it turn? Once again, if I draw lines on my axes, I can see that this grid is divided into 4 quadrants. Notice that the black and the blue are in quadrants right next to each other, right? They are just up and below each other. This means it's 90 degrees. So remember, if it's 180, it would have to be here, that yellow line in that opposite corner. Okay, so I know that this is a rotation, 90 degrees, and now I have to say which direction it's going. So for this, I like to draw a big clock. 12, 1, 2, 3, right? If you put your numbers around it, make it look like this is a giant clock, it will be very easy to then tell which direction it's going. Okay, so here's my clock. And if I look at that red arrow, the way it's turning, I notice it's going backwards. It's going the opposite direction of the numbers. So this makes me think, or makes me know, that this is counterclockwise. A shortcut for this is CCW. So you can write CCW for counterclockwise. All right, so this is a turn, it's a rotation, 90 degrees counterclockwise. Our next example, I see I have two triangles. This one is probably the easiest to identify. It's a change in size. Anytime the size has changed, I know that this is a dilation. So if we look at our triangles, I see that my first one was the small one. My second one is the bigger one. So because it got bigger, I know that this is going to be a scale factor greater than 1. I'm going to pick a single side and count the units. So in this case, I'm going to pick A to B. I don't want to pick the other two sides because see how they're going diagonally through the boxes? I won't be able to count those. So A to B, I can count as 1, 2, 3 units on the smaller shape, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units on the bigger shape. So my side length went from 3 to 9. So in order to figure out the scale factor, I'm going to say, what did I have to multiply to get to 9? And the answer here is 3, right? 3 times 3 equals 9. So that means my scale factor is 3. The second triangle is 3 times bigger than the first. So this is a dilation with a scale factor equal to 3. Our next slide, we see we have two triangles. I see that they are kind of opposite. The Q is at the top, the Q prime is at the bottom. That looks like a mirror image. So this is a reflection. This has been flipped. You can see it's been flipped kind of like from top to bottom. So if I draw my line, what it flipped over, this is the line that it's flipped over. And I notice at this time it flipped over the x-axis. So it flipped, which is what we call a reflection, and it's over the x-axis. Notice, just a little point here, that it's the same distance from your reflection line, right? The black is 4 units above it. The red is 4 units below it. Our next example here is a translation. I see that they have been slid. This is just a simple slide. With translation, a lot of people say they look the same, right? It looks the exact same. It's just kind of in a new location. The pointy F is still down towards the right. Same thing with the blue shape. So that's what makes me think it's a slide. I'm going to pick a point. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to go ahead and do F. I'm going to say, how many units in what direction did I do to get to F prime? So remember, this is your first shape. This is your second shape. So I see I had to go 1 unit up and 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right. So my final answer is this is a translation, 1 unit up and 4 units right. If you did it backwards, if you said down and to the left, then that means you mixed up which one was your pre-image. And finally, our last example here. These two triangles, I see they're facing different directions. It's not a flip because it's not directly over the Y would put you up here in the top left corner. Directly over the X would put you down here in the bottom right corner. So this is a rotation. This has been turned. Okay, so if I look at this, once again, if I draw my axes to show the 4 quadrants, notice that they are in opposite corners. Those opposite corners like this means that it's 180 degrees. Okay, so this is a rotation, 180 degrees. So our last one that we went over was 90 degrees. Remember, it's a quadrant right next to it. This time, because it's opposite, it's 180. Remember that we do not have to say the direction. right? I can turn a half circle counterclockwise, or I can turn a half circle clockwise and I'll get to the exact same spot. Okay, so your final answer is just rotation 180 degrees. If you want, you can also put the direction does not matter because it is 180 degrees. Okay, so that is the last of our examples. Just a reminder, you are going to use this slide right here as a study guide, as a cheat sheet. It's got all 4 transformations, what they mean, and what you must answer in order to describe it.